Third pace.
Can you capture hearts and minds in under a minute? Well, this episode reveals how to distill your message into extremely potent 60-second bursts, uncover the magic of concise content, and why it's the key to dominating the digital landscape on this episode of Content on the Go. Hey everyone, I'm Darren Lake, and welcome to Content on the Go, a podcast by Podpaste. Each episode, we answer questions or talk about one specific idea to help you market your business or brand better. And we do that by making them easy to digest, short and concise, because we all have a business to run. Let's go. What you'll learn with our guest, Christopher Koo, why keeping things short is crucial, and the importance of the 1 second theory. Yes, you only have 1 second. The significance of creating effective thumbnails to boost click rates, how to edit and refine your content to ensure clarity and impact in a short format, and more. With over 20 years of bilingual content and communications experience, Chris excels in creating and managing impactful content across various platforms. At the time of this publication, Chris is the global content marketing lead at Byte Plus, who is known for apps like TikTok, Pico, CapCut, and Lemon 8. Short is the new long, kind of. It depends on a lot of things, but if you're on social media, you most likely want to grab attention of people, especially Gen Zers or, junior millennials. I'm a senior millennial. I don't know, Chris, your age, but you might be
ancient.
You're ancient. Yeah, you might be a senior millennial like me. Yeah. But you want to get their attention because there's a lot of fun stuff happening on the social medias. There's a lot of very attractive blonde-haired, blue-eyed models or whatever you're into, whether you might dark-skinned, dark-haired models if you're into that. And there's a lot of people doing backflips and skydiving off of buildings, and there's a lot of comedy. There's a lot of stuff you're competing with. If you're a small business, you probably don't do any of these things. So you got to cut through it. And you literally have 1 second. So we'll start off with the first point, which is why keeping things short is the first and only rule. And I'll just jump in really quick. I thought, it used to be 7 to 12 seconds, and then I heard 3 seconds, and then I heard 1 second. And it actually makes a lot of sense. Obviously, catching them in 1 second is really difficult. And this is where, if you go back to a few episodes ago, we actually talked about how making short content is actually hard. It feels easy because it's easy to consume. It's quick. You're like, oh yeah, and it can be easier to produce than a longer form piece of content, or maybe you can cut up a long form piece of content like a podcast, like a 20-30 minute podcast, into multiple short form pieces. So therefore, but it still took a lot of work to make that one long form piece of content. And, shortening it and going, okay, is that a take? You have to think about this stuff. Like I call it mental effort. And, you got to go, should I be doing this? You're not just like filming yourself going, cool idea, and then posting it. The good stuff always takes a bit. And especially with that 1 to 3 second rule. There's basically you want videos on a lot of these mediums, a lot of these platforms to be 7 to 12 seconds. I know that's real hard. I struggle with that. Most of my videos are 30 to 50 seconds. I'm trying to find that really tight one-liner from a podcast that's 7 to 12 seconds, about running. I have a running podcast where it's just like bam, bam, bam. But sometimes it takes 30, and they do well. The 30 to 50 seconds ones do well. But again, making something a big idea 1 minute is tough. Tell me about how you do that.
I mean, it's so difficult. And sometimes you don't really want to subscribe to that rule because it just really ruins the whole video. And I can, immediately hear a lot of management saying that people are just going to drop off at 1 second. So then what does that leave you? You cannot tell anything in 1 second, right? But yet also, you also want to be very impactful on the first second and not just waste it on some kind of brand, logo or the animation of the logo. Then, let's not do that, Find a real establishing shot with the producer. And why do we want to use this first establishing shot? And even before the first second has begun, the insignificant thumbnail is already a challenge for some marketers. Sometimes we do it from scratch, right? And you may not want to rely on the automation from the platform to choose a thumbnail for you. You want to create your own. And there's only so much real estate on the screen as people are viewing videos more and more on their mobile phones and not on the desktop and not on TV. So you've got to really think about the space and what kind of caption do you want to put in, how succinctly you can tell something even before they start clicking on the video for that first second. So do not be wordy there's only so much space, and you have to take that into account, and not too many logos. And I mean, you can only put one logo, but not the biggest logo on the thumbnail. So that's a lot to think about in just that very short time frame, whether it's 1 second or just before the 1 second is beginning.
I've got a cool hack that you'll see this a lot. So it's not a hack, but it was more like me refining my short video production. Is when because the thumbnail does matter. TikTok, the thumbnail kind of doesn't matter because a lot of people, they won't see the thumbnail. A lot of people don't really go to your, especially if you're new, they don't go to your profile and check out your old stuff. You need to rely on the algorithm to show it to them in the For You, because it actually shows on TikTok, just like YouTube, it shows stuff for 3 to 6 months. If your stuff is doing well, I've got a post that every week, not even every few days, I get a few thousand more views on it. And YouTube's the same. Like, something will slowly grow and you can get millions of views on it over the course of 5 years because it keeps showing that, like, whereas Instagram and Facebook, they have like a 36-hour, 48-hour, not policy, but kind of like, if it doesn't really hit after 36 hours, it doesn't show anymore. You might see a video after about a week. I've seen 2 weeks where something that's got millions of views. But again, let me kind of go back to the thumbnail hack, which is they're going to show you the video so you won't see the thumbnail. The thumbnail is important. But what you need to do is sum up the title of your video, what it is that they're going to learn, how to do this, why you should do that, do this to do that. You need to do this, and put that as text that's kind of at the top of the screen. Make sure it's within, the viewable box area, though.
Yep.
You don't want to be outside of it. And have that show for 3 to 5 seconds. So, I have it show for as long as 5 seconds. And then I even have, because I'm doing a podcast, I even have the words underneath. Yes, it's a lot of words, but when people are scrolling, their eyes are going to catch, I've got it in bright pink, how to run a faster 5K. So they actually see that, and they're going to stay on that. And that's actually my 1 second grab. How to run a faster 5K, or you're doing this all wrong. A little bit of clickbaity stuff. I try to stay away from that, but you gotta catch people, and that has worked really, really well. Whereas before I didn't have anything, and you just rely on them getting to the 10-second mark to understand that this is about the 5K stuff. So that can work if, again, you're not an attractive person, or you're not doing backflips and whatnot. Let's go to point number 2. Remember that social media is the top of the funnel. And what I'll do is kind of asterisk that with, while it's a standalone piece of content, your short form video on social media, it should still lead to something else. So what you need to do is think about it as, if you're promoting a product, it needs to still not just be a promo. It can't just be a go do this, like, it needs to actually be its own thing. And then if you want to learn more, you can go and do that. So think of top of the funnel, and you're trying to get them down to the bottom of the funnel.
Yeah, and this is about sharing, creating shareable content, right? You don't just want to earn vanity metrics like likes. Sure, you want people to like it, but you want them to like as well as sharing it with other people, because that's not the best indication when they like a video that you have created something of value to them, right? What you want is generate conversations. You want people commenting. You want people to really share with other guys, with their friends, that this is a perspective that's worth owning, because sharing means that you are likely endorsing that view from the video, even without saying anything, right? That's how some people are implicated by the laws today. If you're sharing something that you're not supposed to share, and they're saying, like, if you shared it, that means you are endorsing the view. So sharing that sort of content that is of value really helps your brand, that you're providing a solution, and that you got people to also share and own that perspective. So, but I think that's about it. That's a lot that we're covering for the top of the funnel. Maybe we should just move on to, how do you cut and cut and cut and cut your video to be a short video?
Yeah, moving on to the third point, which is I call it edit, rewrite, and edit again for clarity. It's not easy making something short and snappy. So a good example is, a good friend of mine brought this up. I have worked in advertising. I'm more in general marketing now, and advertising it's a pillar underneath marketing. So really cool thing is you watch a 30-second ad that really is impactful and it really makes you move to do something.
Hmm.
And a lot of people like, oh, it only took 30 seconds. It wasn't a 2-hour movie, so it only took 30 seconds, so it can't be that hard. And it's like, it probably takes the same amount of energy to make a 30-second ad as it would like a 30-minute, 40-minute, like, because you got to do the setup, you got to write it, you got to get the message across in 30 seconds.
Yep.
You got to tell people what it is, what the problem you're solving, and then also the CTA of why they should get it. Like the CTA's call to action. And it's just like, that's a lot of work to do, and that requires a lot of editing, rewriting, editing again for clarity. So tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, I think editing is such a painful experience for a lot of creators, right? Especially when you're dealing with the management and different layers of stakeholders. They all have a say in what's supposed to be in there and what's not supposed to be in there. And then sometimes you are very emotionally invested in the creativity process and you end up getting hurt. It's like, no, why are you cutting up my stuff? But it is important because I think, and this is an advice that I've gotten from a friend who is a writer, and he's very established now in the advertising industry. So he told me about how he was being advised by a mentor on what's being clear, right? Because I think the first step of being clear is so fraught with difficulty, and clarity comes from knowing what you want, knowing why you want it, and whom you are doing this for. But from experience, this questioning and answering process can be very, very painful. And there's this one thing that has helped him, which is right. Right is that which comes from a drive to help and care. Right in that which benefits all than oneself. Right is that which makes me act without shame or regret. And I think these three things can be applied to a brand. When you want to think about what is being clear and what is being that sort of level of clarity in your video. And if you can get these things right, then you can start editing and you can be ruthless with your editing without being too emotional. Because a lot of creators are saying that I gotta leave this shot in, this is a B-roll that I love, but is it right? Is it clear? Is this what people want? So I think one of the first things that I've learned in some of the brands that I worked with, they actually form different kinds of focus groups. Like internally we have one, and externally we get friends or different professionals from the industry. And you might say we don't want people to decide what we are doing, but it's good to get a different kind of perspective because then you ground yourself in the reality, right? Like you can have all these blind spots as you are creating content. You're so emotionally invested that you have lost sight of what the customer wants instead of what you want. So I think that's a lesson that the marketers have to learn. Yeah.
We covered a lot on being short. We went long on being short. And one was why keeping things short is the first and only rule, which is the 1 to 3 second theory. You got to catch their attention. 2, remember that social media is the top of the funnel, but you also want to have your piece of content be a standalone piece of content that still can give value and not just be like, buy this thing. And then 3, edit, rewrite, and edit again for clarity. Thank you so much for listening. From Podpaste, you've listened to Content on the Go. Again, I'm Darren, and Podpaste hopes you found more insights and tips into your business or brand. If you like what you heard, please share a link with other businesses or marketers if you think they would get something from this. And for a limited time, we are offering 2 special services for people. The first is aimed at businesses that have never done podcasting and want to try it out before committing to a full series. Think Try Before You Buy, where we will edit and repurpose a podcast episode into 10 pieces of content for you for only $95. That's 82% off our normal rate. But if you already have a podcast going, we'd love to edit an episode for free for you or repurpose it into 10 pieces of content to show you what is possible. Either way, sign up at the link in the show notes or YouTube description below to jump on a quick 10-minute discovery call where we can brainstorm ideas or audit your existing podcast and help shape your next series. See you on the next episode.